the current marketplace. What's going on in the current market? The pricing, whereabouts your particular property sits. The method of sale, and I'll cover that a little bit later on. The marketing plans, without the marketing you don't have anything. Preparing your home for sale, and the agent when you choose. Ladies and gentlemen, what I want to quickly look at here is the Ballina and Lennox Head house sales cycle and what's been happening from over the last 10 years, from September 99 to September 2009. And that's basically all this information here is collected comes from the Land Titles Office. So it's a stamped and approved information. We use all that information to make informed decisions and help educate you for the future. And you may ask why? Well, it takes around 6 to 8 months for us to get that information. Even though we do have up to date, this is more informed stuff. So as you can see, this is at the moment we're looking at around about just shy of the $500,000 mark in relation to the median sale price, and I'll go more in depth suburb by suburb shortly. As you can see here, this is the current marketplace for Lennox Head and Ballina. As you can tell here, between 300,000 and 600,000, and the breakdown is where most of the sales in the area happen. From the 22% happen from 300 to 399, 23% from 400 up to 499, and 500 to basically 600,000. Within that little parameter is where the bulk of the sales for this area happen. And this is the information that's collected, not just fact. These are factual information. Ladies and gentlemen, yesterday the Reserve Bank met down in Sydney and made a decision about the interest rates. What they would have looked at is a few things which I'll cover quickly to give you a bit of an insight. Is I would have looked at the inflation rate and exactly where it is and how it's been tracking. As you can see, and when it gets to 5%, you hear a few economists say we're in a bit of a dangerous times. We don't like to be too high. They like to keep, the Reserve Bank always try to keep inflation somewhere between 2.5% to 3% is usually where they want to keep it. And when it exceeds that, that's when we start to see a bit of trouble. And as you can tell, we did see in 2008 they were on track, and then it shot up, and lots of that happened to do with global issues that we couldn't control. But all this has some bearing on mindset of buyers and mindset of sellers when we're dealing in the property sector. This is the standard variable home rate interest rate for the last 50 years. So it starts back in January 59 and goes all the way through to January 09. And what this is a very clear, decisive way. I know that some people in the room might remember when interest rates were above the... Oops, sorry. What happened there? I do apologise. Bump the button. I do apologise. When you might have seen it up around about the 17-18%. I know that some people were borrowing then and had to borrow some money to pay some money and all those fun and games. I don't know what's going on here. I do apologise for that. But what we're finding now at the moment, we're seeing the interest rate on a variable around about that 8.5%, and that's carrying through at the moment. And these all have direct influences on people buying and selling. The Australian House Price Index is an interesting thing. It's when all the information that's collected by all different sources come together. Sorry about this, I don't know what's going on. I keep bumping something, sorry about this. Technology and me don't get along sometimes. It's a confidence thing within the market. Usually we try and keep things around about the 5. And what that is, from 0 to 5 is pretty well where we want to keep things normal. And as you can tell, it jumps up and down. So when confidence is down, you'll see it dip right down here. And this is the real things when the amount of stock turnover comes down. People are worried about increasing interest rates, all these things. These are tracked by Westpac and the big banks. So this is all the information. If there's any questions, please ask. But what's happening in your market? That's the most important thing right now. What's going on? What's taking place? Ladies and gentlemen, we're in a stalling market. A stalling market is not a buyer's market, it's not a seller's market. What it is, it's where we seem to be going through a stage where there's more stock coming on the market at a higher rate of where the value is perceived to be. We're not seeing prices fall, but people are unsure of exactly where things sit in the market at the moment. And what we're finding is 6 to 8 weeks ago, if we were coming here to the last one, I would have said that we're in a balanced market where there was equal amount of stock turning over for equal amount of things coming on the market. But what we find in the last sort of 6 to 8 weeks is a stalling effect where there's a lot more surplus of stock come on at a higher rate of where it should be, and it's actually glutting the market. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay, cool. What I want to just go through now is, and what the graphs and so forth will actually explain what I'm talking about. This is for the Ballina local government area, so that includes Ballina, Lennox, Wardell, Austinville, Wollongbar, the entire area. In end of 2009, start of 2010, the median sale price for the Ballina local government area was $382,500. And as you can see, we have had there was a bit of a winding up period there, started 2004, reached its pinnacle in 2008 and started to taper back. That has also filtered through in the first half of this half of this calendar year as well. Lennox Head's been a surprising thing, and this is probably one of the most important parts. Lennox Head's probably the most, out of the entire Ballina Shire, Lennox Head's probably has been the hardest hit by a stalling market. There's 155 properties on the market in Lennox Head at the moment, and not a lot of sales, and a lot to do with the mindset of not knowing the numbers and being the market's starting to become more educated about what's going on. East Ballina is probably going through a very similar situation right now, and we're starting Ballina Island, not so much, but because there's lower end stock, the higher end stock starts to affect this sooner rather than later. Is that clear with everyone? For the first half of this, as you can see, these are the sales for the last, say, 12 months up until end of April, and it's tracked along quite nicely. But as you can see here, it's starting to drop off. These February, March, December, January are usually the peak parts. Where in Lennox Head you might have more people around the area coming to buy, relocation and so forth. But people, to be really frank with you, this is probably the hardest time to sell a property. It's probably easier to sell leading into the market that we're leading into now if you're thinking about coming on, and I'll cover that again shortly. Is there any questions in the meantime? Okay. Austinville, I know there's a couple of parties that were indicating coming from Austinville this evening. Austinville is probably, this is the most direct comparison about the whole thing. As you can see, basically from this May up until now, there has been not much movement in relation to price. It's been the median sale price has been very clear and consistent. There has been a couple of drops around November, December, January, but February, March, and April has always has continued on basically where it was in May last year. And it's currently sitting at, for a median sale price of $384,000. Lismore, I'll just quickly touch on Lismore. Lismore was actually going up and down, and as you can see here, the last couple of months, and this is a clear indication that there has been no real movement. There's been the same amount of volume been going on, and that's what I was talking about